The Ionian Islands lie west of the Greek mainland, below the shores of Albania. The islands are called the Seven Islands, or Eptanissa in Greek, since it consists of 7 members: Corfu, Paxos, Lefkada, Ithaca, Zakynthos, Kefalonia and Kythera. Zakynthos is the southernmost island in the Ionian Sea, neighbouring Corfu and Kefalonia. According to Homer, it belonged to Odysseus, who named it Zakynthos after the son of King Dardanus of Troy. Others say the island was named after the hyacinth flower, since the locals call it the perfumed isle, due to its lush vegetation. Still, some littérateurs originate the name from the word Zante, because that is how it is mostly referred to in Greek poetry. The name of the Ionian Sea itself also has its origins in mythology. The amorous king of the Olympian god, Zeus, coveted the beautiful nymph, Io. Zeus's wife, the jealous Hera, captured her in revenge, but Io managed to escape, and with the help of Zeus, she made it to the coast of the sea that was later named after her. The culture and history of the Greek islands are tied to Hellas by unbreakable bonds. Homer made this place the setting for the adventures of clever Odysseus. In the dim mist of prehistoric times, the islands were ruled by the Cephallans. In the early antiquity, the powerful commercial city of the time, Corinth, put its hands on the islands of Eptanissa, which conducted a blooming sea trade. The rivalry for domination over the islands became a constant source of feud. The conquest of Corfu was the beginning of the Peloponnesian War that sealed the doom of the entire Greek polis system. Sparta, which defeated Athens, could not relish in its glory for long, because soon the Roman Empire arrived, and after conquering Hellas, also annexed the islands. However, history is a series of continuous changes. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Byzantium, which was born on its ruins, became the new superpower. Posterity later learned about this era from the works of the Byzantine princess Anna Comnena. During the 3 centuries of its nominal independence, Byzantium did not care too much about the previously important small pieces of land, so these became defenceless against the onslaught of the barbarians, the Arabs and the Normans, but were also frequent targets of attack by the Crusaders and pirates. In the Middle Ages, another merchant people became a naval superpower. In the 14th century, Venice took over the Ionian Islands. In the course of the nearly 5-century-long battle for power against the Ottomans, with ever-varying outcomes, the islands traded rulers several times, but the presence of the Venetians left indelible marks upon these areas, just like on the coast of the Adriatic, or in several islands of the Cyclades. The spirit of Italy is still prevalent in the customs, in the specifically intoned local dialect, in the locals' love for singing, and their happy disposition. After the fall of Venice, which left a deep influence in the tangible and intangible culture here, the islands first fell under French, then Russian Ottoman rule at the end of the 18th century. The short-lived formation, called a Septinsular Republic, was established under the joint protection, only to be annulled by Napoleon with the stroke of a pen in 1807. He did not stay here too long either, as the fate of the Ionian Islands soon turned out to be the least of his problems, so they remained under the protection of the British from 1815 to 1864. As such, they enjoyed a certain limited extent of autonomy, and when George, who was of Danish origin but the ally of the British, was crowned king, England approved of the island's reunification with Greece. In the 18th and 19th century, the people of Corfu, Kefalonia and Zakynthos enthusiastically supported the War of Independence and wrote the name of their homeland in the history of Greek Renaissance with golden letters. During World War II, Fascist Italy took control of the 7 islands, followed by a short but brutal German invasion after they capitulated. The area was shaken not only by the events of history, but from time to time by some rather destructive earthquakes as well. Despite all that, the Ionian Islands can still be considered luckier than the Dodecanese or the Cyclades. In terms of natural history, Corfu, Zakynthos, Kefalonia and the other 4 islands are lavishly verdant as compared to the barren islands of the Aegean Sea. As far as history is concerned, they avoided the 3-century-long misery of the Ottoman rule that befell the motherland. And although the locals were not too happy about the several decade-long French and British invasion, looking back, actually those nations made the Ionian Islands into an attractive and diverse world that thus became so different from the rest of the Aegean Sea. The French and British influence is most pronounced in Corfu, while Zakynthos has more of the Italian influence. Although the earthquakes in the mid-20th century destroyed part of the architectural heritage they had built, the disasters could not erase the versatility of customs, languages, emotions, and cultures from the locals. Zakynthos, with its population of nearly 40,000, is the 3rd largest island of the Ionian Islands, primarily recommended to travellers looking for a quiet, relaxing vacation. If you drive, you can take the ferry, while pedestrians can take a boat to the islands. Many Europeans like it because they feel as if they enter a completely different world, although it is only a 2-hour flight away. The island's varied landscape offers a plethora of program options to visitors, from harvesting to scuba diving. Surfers can easily find an ideal spot, just like those who wish to go boating, but you can also indulge yourself in onshore sports such as golf or mountain biking too. Climbing the Mount Vrakianos, the highest point of the island, is one of the most popular activities here. The island has attracted many artists and travellers since ancient times. Famous poets and composers created their works here, and painting flourished in the 17th century, when the Cretan, Venetian-inspired Zakynthos school was established. The capital of Zakynthos, with the same name, was built in a protected bay on the eastern side of the island. In antiquity, it only occupied the top of the mountain, but by now, as it became more and more populated, it is spread out down towards the foot of the mountain. The process of urbanization is still ongoing today, and the locals build in larger and larger areas along the whole coast. In 1953, a catastrophic earthquake almost completely destroyed the entire city, but it was nearly entirely reconstructed close to its original form. One of the partially surviving buildings is the 15th century St. Nicholas Church. Its Venetian facade remains intact, and the rest of the building was restored true to the period. The frescoes and icons of the beautifully ornamented interior were made by artists known only locally. If you wish to see the works of famous painters, you should walk over to the Museum of Byzantine Art, right next to the City Hall. There you can see the creations of Damaskinos, the teacher of El Greco, among others. The small museum next to the church is dedicated to the memory of the famous sons of the island. Interestingly enough, it seems that the islands boast more famous natives than the mainland. In this competition, Crete is the leader, but Epthanisa has nothing to be ashamed of either. In the corner of the main square, a modern sculpture of victory attracts attention. Behind the slender figure of a woman are the mausoleums of Solomos and Foscolo with the eternal light. The other old church in town was also heavily hit by the earthquake. Solomos Square is the largest square in town. It is surrounded by an elegant formation of trees and flower beds, along with 1- and 2-story aristocratic buildings. Here stands the monument of the poet Dionysius Solomos, who became famous for his poem titled Hymn to Liberty, that he wrote in 1823, during the War of Independence against the Ottomans. Interestingly, another native of the Ionian Islands, Mantzaros, composed the music for the poem, which became the national anthem of Greece. At night, many locals and tourists go to the square for a pleasant walk. Another imposing building in the square is the Museum of Byzantine Arts. The icons displayed here are true representations of the local traditions of ecclesiastical painting. In addition to the icons, the exhibitions also features Hellenic and Byzantine statues and sculptures. The historically famous St. Marcos Square is nearby. This is where the common people burned the Libro d'Oro, or a golden book. That book contained the names of the local nobility who received privileges from Venetian invaders. The book burning happened when the French took control of the island. Street Ruga is the old new centre of the capital and its main road since antiquity. This has been the local commercial centre for centuries and managed to preserve its significance up to this day. The other most important street of the capital is the Strada Maria, which runs along the beach from Solomos Square up to the temple of St. Dionysios. The temple was named after the patron saint of the island, but it was built as late as 1925 to honour the holy man, who lived in the 17th century. The silver coffin that contains his remains was made by Diamantis Bappas. The saint is celebrated on August 24th, when a mass is held and his relics are carried through the whole town. The building's characteristic feature is a bell tower that imitates a Venetian campanile. You can also find the ferry ticket office and the bus terminal on the Strada Maria. Zakynthos is the oldest inhabited part of the Ionian Islands. Its landscape is characterized by fertile plains, rolling hills and high mountains. Its plains are covered by lush vegetation. Olive, citrus, raisin plantations and vineyards stretch out lazily over the lands, while the rocky beaches melt into crystal clear waters on the western side. The surface area of the perfumed island is 404 square kilometers. It is partly covered by mountains. Its highest point is a 756 meter high Mount Vracionas. The island is 40 kilometers long and 20 kilometers wide, with a coastline of 123 kilometers. The fertile ground is home to a lush verdant flora, and due to the winter rains there is no shortage of water, even in the summer. The island can be divided into 4 well-defined sections: the Laganasi Bay, the Vassilikos Peninsula, the steep western shoreline, and the northeastern coast, covered by dense pines, from Zakynthos town all the way up to Agios Nikolaos. There are several resorts lining up on the shallow-watered coast: Chilivi, Tragaki, and Alikis. The beaches here are sandy or pebbled, with the towering cliffs protecting most of the bays from the winds and the waves. Chilivi is located merely 6 kilometers off the capital, so it is an ideal place for vacationers who want to rent a car or a motorbike, stay at a homely bed and breakfast or apartment in the fishing village, and reach the capital in a matter of minutes, where they can find a larger selection of catering establishments, shops and activities. Of course, you can spend a fun evening at a taverna in Chilivi too, and find nothing to complain about the gyros you buy from a local street vendor. The jewellery shops offer unique gold and silver items. The leather shops have a varied assortment of jackets, belts and handbags, while some world-famous brands also have outlets here. Souvenir shops also offer local specialities: cheese, olive oil, nougat and local honey, dried spices and decorative ceramics. Gift wrapping is also available for the products, and a wall calendar with the local attractions can be a nice memory of your visit. You can buy a CD with Greek music and send postcards to your friends and family, But you can also locally obtain such necessities as slippers, beach shoes, sunglasses, towels, sunscreen, batteries, and film or a memory card for your camera, because there is always an endless line of picturesque images waiting to be captured. Sailing on along the coast to the northwest toward Katastali, we passed the settlements of Gaidaros, Todaritis, Ampula, Paradisos and Xehoriatis. All former fishing harbours have inviting beaches and apartment houses available for tourists. The town of Katastari is a bit further off the shore, deeper inland. There is a frequent bus line connecting it with the seaport of Vassilikos. Most of the houses are built in an amphitheatre formation on the hills with a view of Vassilikos Bay. The twin-towered church of this little town named after St. Theodore is famous for its old icons. Katastari is well known all over Greece for its musical heritage, also aptly demonstrated by the summer evening concerts. You can enjoy a wonderful panorama from the hilltop with a view of the sea to the east and the highest peak of the island to the west. The best place to climb Mount Vrakionios from is Katastari, but make sure you take a dip in the sea before the hike at the sandy beach of the bay. The local houses are the same modern Greek white cube buildings you can see in Athens. There are merely a few columns evoking the memory of the glorious past, art and architecture of the country, which are mainly used as gate ornaments. The flat concrete roofs provide insulation for the buildings and protection from the sun, while at the same time serving as roof terraces, being highly favoured cooling spots by all residents, old and young, after sunset. We sail on along the rocky coast towards Skenari. Our course will take us right by the Blue Caves. This is where the deepest point of the Mediterranean is. The depth of the water reaches 4,500 metres. The white limestone cliffs provide a perfect backdrop for the brilliant turquoise waters of the sea lapping their feet. There are plenty of various sized bays along the craggy shore, which are usually accessible only by boat. Most people would think that pirates lived only in such faraway exotic places as the Caribbean or the Indian Ocean. Actually, pirate attacks were just as frequent at the shores of civilized Europe, all over the Mediterranean and its adjoining seas, especially after some kings, and even popes, legalized this type of crime. Many times the bays and caves of the Ionian Sea provided safe haven for pirates, or those running from them. There is a number of caves here where sailboats could disappear without a trace. The harbour with the deepest water on the island is Port of Romi. Windmills are an integral part of the Greek landscape. They usually wear a spiky hat of thatch on their cylindrical body, although some of them have a tiled roof. In some places, the stones in the walls are left unpainted, while at others they are plastered and given a fresh coat of white paint every year. Just like the sails of ships, the sailcloth attached to the wooden lattice framework of the mills is rolled up or spread out, adjusting the reefing of the sails as needed. In many places, modern wind turbines or electric mills have replaced the old windmills, so some of them are only landscape features without any real function, just tourist attractions now. After Agios Nikolaos, the road turns west towards Vassilikos through the mainland, but there is a small road that branches to the north tip of the island to Skenari. Make sure you don't miss it. You will be rewarded with an unparalleled view. One of the roads at the fork takes you to a windmill tavern with a small, steep stairway going straight down to the water from its terrace, while the other road leads to the harbour, which is the departure point for boat tours to the Blue Caves and Shipwreck Bay. The famous caves are on the northern tip of the island, and you can take a boat tour there from the neighbouring towns of Agios Nikolaos or Skenari. A tour typically costs €5 or €6. It takes a couple of hours, and many times the boats stop along the way, allowing for a swim. The boat tour follows the coastline, passing Tsivili, Alikes to Skenari, where the lighthouse stands. There is a turtle-shaped islet nearby, which officially belongs to the Vatican up to this day. The tour boats stop at the lighthouse. After climbing some steps to the top, you can take beautiful pictures, for example of the northern neighbouring island of Kefalonia that can be seen well from up here. Lighthouses have not lost their importance completely, even in this age of satellite navigation. On Zakynthos, a tower was built at Porto Vromi and another at Keri to help seafarers, since the famous Baniotis was not the only ship that sank off the coast of the island. This is where fate caught up with the Venetian ship Giudotta e Simona in 1612, set to carry gemstones and gold from Alexandria to Venice, but was attacked by pirates. The same fate was visited upon the Italia Una in 1865 that had a cargo of coins. The largest Ionian island is Kefalonia, with an area of 737 square kilometers. From Zakynthos, you can take a ferry at Skenari to Posada, the harbour of Kefalonia. Then the bus will take you through Mount Ainos, which is the home of the rare black pines. Kefalonia is very similar to Corfu with its high mountains, rocky gorges, beautiful bays and lush vegetation. Homer calls the island Same in the Odyssey and its inhabitants Cephalins or Highlanders. In the 15th century BC, this was the centre of the Mycenaean civilization. In the Middle Ages it was occupied by the Normans, then fell under the rule of the Ottomans before Venice took control of the island, though only for 2 decades. When Italy withdrew from World War II, the Germans massacred 10,000 Italian soldiers here, although the division had surrendered to them. Marcello Venturi presents their story in his novel titled The White Flag. As the patron saint of the island is Saint Gerasimos, most of the monasteries and churches bear his name, and his portrait is featured on many icons. Twice a year, on August 16th and on October 20th, many people stricken by disease and hoping for a miraculous recovery make a pilgrimage to the silver coffin that contains the earthly remains of the wonder worker. The pilgrims, who often come from lands afar, keep vigils by candlelight. The architectonic composition of the temple's interior space is arranged into 3 layers. The brownish marble shell at the bottom is split into geometric panels by the white marble inlays of the vault supports. The mosaic tiling of the arched second spatial layer is in contrast with the intimately intellectual composition of the human scale layout of the architecture designed by flexible logic. The interior space is crowned by the dome above it that features a similar mosaic inlay. A must-see landmark of Kefalonia is the Drogorati Caves, which is the home to extraordinary stalactite formations. The cave is also famous for its great hall that has an excellent acoustics, where also Maria Callas performed a while back. Stalactites are actually layered calcite formations precipitated from dripping mineralized water solutions present in karst caves. So, they are highly remarkable, multi-shaped versions of the mineral that consists of the material of limestone. Stalactite, hellicite, moonmilk, pisolite and aragonite are all minerals formed in such caves. Their special brilliance, rich colours, and endless variety of shapes capture ordinary visitors and fanatic cave researchers alike. The gems of the caves are capricious in granting their rewards. Those interested in them can never be sure if their efforts will be worth it. The Drogorati impresses visitors not only by its beauty, but also by its size. Our next stop is Melisani, home to a cave lake with 20,000-year-old stalactite columns on the shore. This is one of the most famous attractions of Kefalonia. The water dazzles in unbelievable colours in the sunlight that filters through the gaping hole on top of the 30-metre, partly collapsed rock cave. The cave is not far from the harbour of Fiscardo, but Austrian geologists proved that there is salty water gushing from a rift through an undersea suction inlet near Argostoli at the southern shore of the island. You can marvel at the sights of the cave from a boat. The town of Sami, built on the ruins of the ancient city of Sami, is a short bus trip away from Melisani. This is where the movie Captain Corelli's Mandolin was shot. The story, starring Nicolas Cage and Penelope Cruz, takes place in World War II and is about the romantic love between an Italian soldier and a local girl. The harbour of Sami is the port for the large ferries and packet boats arriving from Athens Piraeus. The great earthquake of 1953 that destroyed Zakynthos also knocked down the houses in Kefalonia. Maybe this is also a reason why the island has become an increasingly popular destination in recent years. It is highly preferred by British and Italian tourists. The latter often come here to remember their ancestors who died here in the World War. Today, the island is accessible by ferry and by plane, but the local bus transportation is rather poor. If you do not wish to rent a car or a scooter, you can take small motor barges to the beach town. Next to the capital, the towns of Argostoli, Sami and Lixouri are worth paying a visit. Assos is popular because of the Venetian fortress, while Fiscardo is a picturesque fishing village. The latter was named after the adventurer Robert Guiscard, who died of typhus here. Lord Byron, the memories of whom will be found everywhere by world travellers, spent months in Kefalonia. There is a memorial marble plaque here with his own words engraved on it. If I am a poet, the air of Greece has made me one. With the endless blue in front of us, we are sitting here on a bench at the beach, wrapped in saltwater scented mildness, with a stone rail at our feet and the thrashing sea down below. I'm just watching until my eyes get dazzled, this infinity that has attracted me back again this summer. I knew already the first time we met that it got a hold of me, as I would be unhappy if once in a while I could not see that flashing, that passion, that complete irregularity of the nervous, and that strict regularity of the calm sea. Every emotion and nice rule and discipline is there contained in those waves, wrote the great Hungarian author Magda Szabo in her literary travel journal titled On Zeus's Doorstep. On the western side of the island, the coastline is rocky, with cliffs looming at several hundred metres over the sea. Little green bushes rooted in the gaps cheer up the stern look of the barren rocks. The most popular program of a Zakynthos vacation is a tour to Navagio Bay, where a wrecked smuggler ship half sunk in the sand will give you a memory you will treasure all your life. Modern age pirates worked aboard the ship named Paniotis up until 1983. Then the Greek Navy started chasing the freighter. The crew was accused of smuggling, and the Navy was in pursuit of the vessel in the open sea. According to the locals, the ship, fully laden with wine, tobacco and other contraband, got into a huge storm, ran aground and was washed ashore. That's how it became a tourist attraction and allegedly the most photographed location in Greek travel brochures. The cove became the symbol of the island, of course, next to the turtles. On the maps, it is often marked under the English name Shipwreck instead of the original Navagio. The turquoise bay with the white cliffs and the romantic, gravely rusting shipwreck is a must-see. Actually, it is two mandatory programs because it is a sight not to be missed either from above or from the sea, but there is no access to go up or down. The all-day boat trips around the island stop for about 1 to 1.5 hours at this cove. If you do not want to spend a whole day cruising, you can make the trip in 4 to 5 hours with high-speed jet boats that usually stop at the Blue Caves as well. And if you choose the third, minimalist option, you can take a simple little motorboat at the nearest port of Porto Vromi and go to see the wreck. Since the sun shines into the bay from about noon, it is better if you go there in the afternoon. The beach is nice and white, but it is full of sharp pebbles, so make sure you take slippers or beach shoes with you. The water is cool and deepens suddenly. You can take an organised tour to see it from above, as all the bus and jeep tours stop at the observation deck, but you can also go there individually by car or a scooter. A tip: the most beautiful panorama is not from the outlook. There are small paths to the right leading to the edge of the mountain surrounding the bay, and if you walk out there you can enjoy the most stunning view of the landscape below. On the mountain above the Navagio Bay, not far from the viewing deck, the village of Anafonitria boasts not one but two monasteries, although there are only a total of 8 on the entire island. The Agios Nikolaos of Krimes monastery survived the earthquake with less damage than the church of the Madonna of Anafonitria that was visibly more affected by it. Crowds of believers come here to marvel at the icon of the Weeping Madonna at the 15th century monastery. Anafonitria is the place where Saint Dionysios, the patron saint of the island, used to live in a monastery. Before that, he was a monk on the islet of Strophades, south of Zakynthos. He wanted to make a pilgrimage to the Holy Land when he was elected as Bishop of Aegina in Athens. However, due to his poor health, he had to return to Zakynthos. He died in December of 1624, but his earthly remains were taken home only 100 years later. The jet boats draw capricious white foam patterns on the mirror of the still blue sea. The cliff arches, reflected by the water and the waves breaking in the sand pads, are so picturesque that almost everyone gets an urge to paint or to photograph them to capture this fleeting but always renewing beauty. There are many fishermen's legends about these caves, passed on from generation to generation by word of mouth. The organised tours to the area are just as popular as ever, and every year people have a chance to watch the migration habits of thousands of butterflies that gather from June up to September in the Valley of Butterflies in Laganasi on the Rhodes. Gary is located close to the southernmost tip of the island, across Marathonisi or Turtle Island, 20 kilometers from the capital and 15 kilometers from the airport. It has a sandy pebble beach with gradually deepening waters. The little town was famous already in antiquity for its black tar wells shooting up from the bottom of the sea. This material has been used for centuries to impregnate boats and ships. Next to the lighthouse, the southern corner of the islet lends a fantastic view of the craggy southern shoreline. Just a few hundred metres before the end of the road, there is a tavern with terrace that also offers a beautiful panorama. Both bus and boat tours have a stop at Kerry, where you can visit the caves or spend some time at the lake depending on the weather. If you would like to see the turtles, you can take a bus to the port of Agios Nikolaos and go by boat to the habitat of the animals. The boat will continue on to Laganasi Island, where you can swim at the beach. The colourful, fabulous lands visited by modern-day tourists and sung so many times by the undying words of their own poets could hardly be separated from the character of the people living there. Just think of the abandoned shores where Nausicaa found the shipwrecked and anguished Odysseus, or where Achilles went aside to talk to the waves after Agamemnon insulted him. These magical lands are still unique in the world and possess the same grandiose ambience as they did thousands of years ago, writes Simonetta Crescimbena in her travel book about Greece. The most famous blue caves of Europe are on the Italian island of Capri, but there are a number of similar ones in Malta or Corfu, for example. The sun shining through the gaps in the top of the cave is reflected by the white sand on the bed of the sea, thereby creating a splash of blue, turquoise and green colours of unparalleled beauty. The Blue Caves of Zakynthos is the home to the Mediterranean seals, native to the island, that come here to give birth to their babies. The national flag of Greece consists of 9 horizontal stripes of 5 blue and 4 white. In the upper left corner there is a white cross against a blue background. This cross represents the official religion of the country, the Orthodox faith. The 9 horizontal stripes symbolize the 9 syllables of the national motto of freedom or death in Greek. The 5 blue stripes refer to the word freedom, eleftheria, while the 4 white stripes stand for the words or death, thanatos. Another theory holds that the 9 stripes refer to the 9 muses, who symbolize civilization and culture in the ancient world. The colours of the flag also have a meaning. The white represents the clear skies above the land of Greece, while the blue can be interpreted as a metaphor for the sea. The Greeks are proud of their national flag and put it out on their houses, even at the remotest far-off village. Laganasi can attribute its privileged situation to its fortunate location. The bay is situated between the 2 peninsulas, is protected from the strong winds and big waves. The proximity of the capital and the airport also contributed to the fact that Laganasi became the most popular resort area in Zakynthos, while at the same time it is a convenient place to start discovering the island, whether by boat or by bus. In 2003, Water Village opened. It is the only aqua park on the island. It is only 10 kilometers away and you can go there by bus. But you do not even have to travel this much for other entertainment, be it bars, nightclubs or taverns. Life is busy at any time of the day or night, mainly due to tourism that has had a substantial boom in the past 20 years. A plethora of establishments offer plenty of options for beach entertainment, primarily to foreigners. This is where the longest beach in Greece is located. The 9-kilometer long beach with its white sands and shallow waters offers an ideal place for anyone in search of a relaxing holiday. Agios belongs to the Laganasi Bay. Kalamaki and Algasi are similar resorts, but have smaller beaches and a lot quieter life. The Greek islanders managed to uphold the harmony and beauty of their surrounding landscape. From the beginning, architecture has developed along the lines that are based on the principles of respecting nature. The locals greatly appreciate the versatility of their homeland and created and preserved a celebratory simplicity in their architecture, as written in a study on Greek architecture. The little island, emerging from the water at the Bay of Agios can be approached through a wooden suspension bridge. Make sure you go there on the beach, as this will spare you a big detour. The picturesque little islet is also a perfect place to take some nice pictures of the bay. The other side of Agios can only be seen from the air. The piers at the western end of the bay across the island shape the open mouth of an alligator, while its body is formed by the half-arc of the sandy cove. The dozens of little white boats docking at the piers are the teeth in the open mouth of the beast. We sail along towards Daphne, situated in the middle of the Vassilikos peninsula. Statistics say that the number of places where the turtles lay their eggs has increased in the past years, which means that rangers make more areas off limits for tourists in the National Marine Park. This further antagonises the locals, whose main source of income is tourism. The situation is most dramatic at the area called Daphne Beach, which is a no-bill zone, and the use of cars and motorcycles has been prohibited for decades, yet there is a whole line of villas, taverns and bars on the beach. The government's plan to reimburse the owners of the seafront properties has failed. According to another plan, this section of the coastline would be transformed into an ecotourism centre, but upon pressure from the real estate owners, the beach bars and the beach houses remain, so tourists will not go away from the area either. The loggerhead turtle is a symbol of Zakynthos. There are 800 to 1,800 turtle nests in 6 separate sections on a 4-kilometre long beach. The females swim ashore at night from June to August to lay about 100 eggs, 40 to 60 centimetres deep in the dry sand. The baby turtles that survive the ordeal hatch 2 months later and immediately take towards the sea. 20 to 30 years later, they return to their birthplace to lay their own eggs. Full-grown turtles can reach a body length of 1.2 meters, 4 feet, and a body weight of 100 kilograms, 220 pounds. Garacus, a beautiful sandy cove, is located at the tip of the peninsula. This is a highly protected area. Staying on the beach at night is prohibited. The nests are protected by small racks, and there is an information desk at the entrance. The sea turtles are becoming increasingly rare in the Mediterranean Sea, and they lay their eggs exclusively in Laganasi Bay, on the southern side of the island. There has been an ongoing effort to synchronise tourism and wildlife conservation in Zakynthos to ensure the survival of the species. These animals are extremely timid. They dislike loud noises, disturbing lights, and they are afraid of humans as well. If they are disturbed, they swim out to sea in fear and lay their eggs in the water, thereby killing the new hatch. The baby turtles also need a clean and preferably short access to the sea from the nest, so they have a better chance to survive. Even so, only 1 in 1,000 turtles reaches adulthood. The loggerhead turtles travel thousands of kilometers in the seas and navigate by using the Earth's magnetic field. Naturalists, volunteers and ecotourists aim to create an efficient system based on strict protection, that is, a national marine park, in order to successfully improve the situation of loggerhead turtles. We continue our trip towards Agios Nikolaos. After passing Vassilikos, you can reach the Xigia caves, where the water bubbles and gurgles from the springs that feed it. Many local fishermen gave up their original profession to make an easier living by utilizing their experience and boats in the service of tourists. Competition among the boatmen is keen and often results in an overly aggressive chase for customers, but their price still remains €5 everywhere. Beach life is very lively in Agios Nikolaos, or St. Nicholas in English. With a thick row of sunbeds, a plethora of options for water sports, a scuba diving centre and music galore. The area is kind of like an extended beach house. To avoid misunderstandings, please note that there are 2 towns on the island that were named after the highly popular saint, one on the northeastern and the other on the southeastern part. The boom in tourism naturally brought on a rivalry among the beaches. Of course, you cannot change the natural characteristics of a place, but you do not even need to, because the sandy, the pebbled or rocky bays have an equal amount of fans, just like the beaches with shallow or dramatically deepening waters. The only real difference can be in the services offered. What kind of diners, ice cream parlours, sports and entertainment options are available. Boats, windsurfs, jet skis, water bicycles, banana boats, parachutes, kites, and the list goes on and on. If human creativity invents a new sporting equipment, it will surely be available already next season, even at the beaches on the other side of the world. Of course, Zakynthos is no exception, although it has joined the circuit of international tourism relatively late. Corfu was the only destination representing the Ionian Islands for quite a long time, mainly as a result of the public relations campaign launched by Queen Sisi. But visitors always want something new, and the quest for relatively untouched areas on our planet, which of course will not be untouched anymore. Corfu was followed by Zakynthos, and these days Kefalonia is beginning to open up to tourism. Soon Ithaca, Kythera and Lefkada will join in allowing the colourful umbrellas to pop up in their little bays, and having jet skis carve big white question marks of development into the surface of the blue sea. Going around the Vassilikos Peninsula, we continue towards Port Tesoro. The road that spans the island starts at Zakynthos town, winding through Argasi and Vassilikos, all the way to Gerakas. There is a nice view of the shoreline at some places of the road. The main attraction of the peninsula is the mainly small and big beaches, each with an access road indicated by road signs on the main road. The water is beautifully clear and the beaches are sandy, but each completely different in character. For example, Port Tesoro and Ionio Beach belong to the quieter places where you will not find much more than some sunbeds and a couple of taverns. Greek people love flowers. You will see geraniums and leanders growing in buckets, pots or on balconies, even where the houses have no gardens. We sail on to Argasi. The 4 seasons can be clearly defined in Greece. The 3 summer months are usually hot here. This is the holiday season, when it rarely rains, the earth dries out, the sky is cloudless, the nights are starry, and the air is clear, providing great visibility. The average temperature in the summer is 28 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. The amount of precipitation decreases as we go from the west to the east, with the Ionian Islands getting the most of the rains. That is why the vegetation is more lush here than in the rest of the country. The pebbled or occasionally sandy beach of Laganasi is ideal also for families with small children. The remains of the old stone bridge standing in the sea are a spectacular sight. It was also destroyed by the great earthquake. There is hardly another beach in the world where you can swim around ruins like this. After a full day at the beach, everybody will get hungry. Of course, you can get gyros and Greek salad everywhere, and moussaka too, but the Ionian Islands have many other specialities that are different from the cuisine of the rest of Greece. Rabbit, goat and lamb dishes are popular around here and often baked in an oven. The high-quality local honey and yogurt is often served mixed for breakfast. Feta cheese is ripened in barrels around here, and kefalotiri is a homemade hard cheese speciality made from sheep milk. You can also buy olive oil and Zante currant, black raisins, as gifts to take home. If you would like to do some sightseeing, you will find many sites of interest. Friendly terrace cafes are awaiting the customers everywhere. The buildings show a distinct Venetian influence. The little church of Laganasi also reminds us of the city of lagoons with its separate bell tower, the Campanile. This is completely different from what you are used to in other areas of Europe, and you can only see them in Italy, Croatia, or on the Greek islands that were once under Italian rule. Laganasi, a little town 4 kilometers from the capital, stands in the shadow of the Scopus mountain. In mythology, this was the residence of Artemis, the goddess of hunting. Ever nicer villas and apartment houses are popping up in this rapidly developing town. After spending a few days here, you will understand why the Venetians once called the friendly island of Zakynthos the flower of Levante, or the flower of the East.